viewers. My name is Nick, and this is Board Game Brawl, and we're starting a new little video series called the Kickstarter Update. Now, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, Kickstarter is this amazing website where people can put up projects that they want to see made and created and allow other people to crowdfund them, which is, here's this thing I want to create, please give me money to make it happen. And if you don't give me money, it doesn't happen. And when I say project, it could be anything. It could be some sort of charity drive, it could be a book, it could be a piece of tech like a new type of iPhone or something like that. Or it could be a board game. And of course, that's what we're interested in here at Board Game Brawl. It's not just a clever name. So, I really love Kickstarter. It kind of has followed the arc of my love of board games, actually, because I'm relatively new to board games as a hardcore passion, and I encountered both the hobby itself, and Kickstarter at the same time. And I think it's just an amazing way for not only to see projects get made that would never have seen the light of day, because it's just really hard to get a project published, no matter what kind of project it is, but especially board games, because it's still a niche hobby. We in the hobby still like to think that it's this amazing golden age of board gaming, and it is, but it's still not widely accepted, not, at least the kind of games that we like to play. So Kickstarter lets these little niche projects get made, and on top of that, Kickstarter itself is an amazing way to get connected to a project, to feel involved, to have feedback and to get feedback from the creator, and just that back and forth, and it's really amazing. There's nothing more exciting than seeing a project that you really want to succeed make it, especially if it's very close. Because if you don't know about Kickstarter, if it doesn't get the money that it needs, its project goal, by the deadline, it doesn't get anything. So it can be kind of tense, but it can be a lot of fun too. So I don't know how often I'm going to do these little updates, because I only want to bring you updates on projects that I'm interested in. Like my idol Howard Stern once said, he never went on the radio with the intention of talking about what other people want to hear. He talked about what he wanted to talk about in hopes that other people would follow. So I'm going to show you what I'm interested in, the projects that are currently out, projects that have recently funded, and maybe some projects on the horizon, in addition to some projects that I've actually gotten in my hands, delivered to me from Kickstarter, as rare as that can be. So we're going to do that, and I don't know how often that's going to be, because I'm not always interested in what's on Kickstarter, but maybe it's going to be bi-weekly, maybe it'll be weekly, who knows, but we'll see. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's currently on Kickstarter. Alright, so what's currently on Kickstarter? Well, let's start off on a sad note, and I hate to do that, but there's this project called the King's Armory, which I was really excited about. It's like a tabletop board game version of a tower defense game, like you might play on your iPad or on any other video game console. Really cool. It used a lot of classes and characters and monsters from Dungeons & Dragons types games, which I'm a really big fan of. And so I was really eager to see it funded, but unfortunately there's only about 3 days to go, and it's only at about $20,000 of the $72,000 that it needed for its funding. So it's really probably not going to happen. But one of the other things I liked about it so much too was that the creator, John Rott, was so involved with the project. A lot of updates, he stayed very, very positive throughout the project and had a lot of good ideas for getting the word out, and it's really sad to see that it didn't happen, but in his last update he said that it is likely that there will be a reboot of the campaign. He threw out some ideas and such, including trying to get some reviewers, which maybe I can get in on, who knows, but I really want to see that project succeed. So either way, I hope that it happens. If you are interested, it's still not a bad idea to pledge if you can, if it's something that interests you, because it's just a sign of support. The base game is only $49 without any bells and whistles, and I would anticipate that if and when it reboots, it'll probably be about the same price. So that's not too bad for a game like that. It looks like a very nice and impressive game production-wise. So there's Case Against Humanity, which, as you might tell from the name, if you have ever heard of a little party game, for better or worse, called Cards Against Humanity, this is actually a wooden storage case for the game Cards Against Humanity. If you're not familiar with Cards Against Humanity, it is a party game for, well, I'll use the tagline from the box, the party game for horrible people. It's basically apples to apples with very offensive but very funny cards. I love it. It gets a lot of play in my group, to the point where we're actually kind of tired of it. So it hasn't been played in a few weeks or so, but I still really enjoy it. And with all the expansions that came out for it, it's very difficult to find anything to hold them. They definitely don't fit in the original box anymore. And if the expansions just come in little tuck boxes, so it can be tough to just carry all those around. So I'm just using actually I'll just show you. I'm just using a very crappy box that I got from the printing company I work at. So I am really interested in having a big, nice wooden box that's engraved, and you can pay extra to have your own engravings on it. So I would say that this is a luxury item, probably more than anything else I'll talk about. Well, they're all luxury items, but this even more so. But I think it's cool. I'm really interested in it. So if you like Cards Against Humanity, check it out. There is a new project from Cool Mini or Not. So if you don't know Cool Mini or Not, you will definitely know some of their projects even from hearsay, including Zombicide is probably their most famous one that's made a tremendous amount of money. And Zombicide Season 2 coming soon. I'll mention that a little bit later. And they were involved with Super Dungeon Explorer, which was one of my... I love that game. I got it up here somewhere. Super Dungeon Explorer. Tremendous game. I also have Zombicide somewhere. And lots of other really cool projects. Now, they're doing another miniatures project, of course. That's their name. Called Wrath of Kings. And it's definitely more of a project to showcase some really impressive looking miniatures. The game itself didn't sound interesting to me, but I'm sure that it already has funded and made a tremendous amount of money just based on the miniatures itself. They're over 200,000 of only asking for 50,000. I'm sure they knew they were going to make that. My big thing with it is that a lot of the miniatures look really, really strange. I'm not that into the miniatures world unless there's a board game attached to it, so maybe this is par for the course with these types of projects, but they didn't look that appealing to me. I'm sure that there are other people that will, but it was interesting, so I'm throwing it out there, and if you like it, go ahead and take a look. If you like their other projects, you may like that. So there's another one called Chaos and Alchemy, which is actually ending very, very soon. So I was hoping to get this video up sooner, so hopefully you actually do get a chance to take a look at it if this video posts soon enough. But Chaos and Alchemy is from Game Salute, and it looks like this really fun, really kind of interesting and deeper than normal dice and card game. It's basically like everyone plays alchemists and wizards and such who are trying to make formulas using the dice. You've got dice representing the different elements, and it looks really, really fascinating to me, and I hope, well, it's already funded, so you don't have to worry about that, but I really hope that it holds up to what it actually looks like in the videos and the gameplay rules. So that's Chaos and Alchemy. And Game Salute actually has what I guess you could call a sister project together with that. They're actually making promo cards that go together for a game called Magnum Opus, which is also about alchemists, more specifically about alchemists trying to make the Philosopher's Stone in a deck building game format. So I'm all into alchemy. I love Full Metal Alchemist. So that had my little hook in there right there, even though this has nothing to do with anime or anything like that. But I do love deck building games too. So I think I'm, hook, line, and sinker on Magnum Opus. So check it out if you want. It has already funded, but not for very much money. I'm hoping that some of the stretch goals they have might get hit out. Honestly, I'm not even sure what stretch goals they have, but usually they are. So let's take a look at a very silly looking game called A Duel Betwixt Us. So I'm not really sure how to describe this game. It's a two-player competitive game where, just to give a little tagline from the project itself, you prove your manliness through the sacred and ancient art of violence. The whole game looks like it's done in a sort of faux Victorian hipster style. If you've ever read the webcomic Wonder Mark, it's very reminiscent of that. Very reminiscent of, like, I don't know, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type. I don't know if that's the right description, but I do know that my my friend Robbie is very, very into this game, and I think that I know there's a lot of people like him who would probably love it, and it has funded, so it's a sure bet. So if you're interested in that, that is A Duel Betwixt Us. And finally, let's go ahead and take a look at Incursion. So I liked Incursion a lot better when it was called Tannhauser. Just to explain, Incursion is a miniatures skirmish game where there's two sides playing the Axis and the Allies of World War II, but of course it's not World War II. It's Alta World War II, where there's magic and the undead, and because everyone knows that in reality Hitler was a black sorcerer I don't know all the details, but it does look a lot like Tannhauser. But it also looks like it has some cool art style and miniatures. So if you're interested in that, I believe that's already funded as well, and you can go ahead and take a look at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the games that have already recently funded. So let's just talk about a few projects that have recently acquired their funding within like the past week. We'll talk about the only one of these that I actually backed gladly, and that's Freedom, the Underground Railroad. Now you might remember that I mentioned this as my number 3 pick in my top 10 games to look forward to at Gen Con, and I still don't have it in my hands yet. I'm hoping very soon because it was for sale at Gen Con, but it just looks amazing. Well, I'm not going to use that word again because that's my most overused word. It looks incredible. It's a cooperative game where you're actually trying to get slaves during the before the Civil War. You're trying to get slaves from the South up north as you're all playing abolitionists, and it's a great theme. It's a very underused theme. I'm not saying that every game should have a slavery theme, but I think that there's so many games, historical games, that are just based on wars and fighting, that it's nice to see a cooperative game based on trying to do something very, very positive. And I hope that doesn't sound too preachy, but I just think it sounds really, really cool, and I love cooperative games. So I'm very happy that that funded. It funded easily. It made like over 70 grand of the 10,000 it needed. So that's Freedom, the Underground Railroad. You should keep your eye out for that. Academy Games is a very big company, so I'm sure that that game will be hitting retail probably very soon. So Fun Employed. I was actually backing this game and kind of backed out at the last minute because I didn't know that I needed another party game, and it is a party game. This made its funding. It didn't make much. It made over 7,000 of 5,000 that it needed. Mainly the reason I didn't do it was because it looked very, very similar to Cards Against Humanity, and that was probably intentional. But the goal of the game was that you would have someone would be the judge probably for the round and play a type of employee card, like a job, like secret agent or whatever, singer or something, and then everyone else would have hands full of cards that were like these just like random adjectives and stuff that you would try to string them together to, I don't know. See, it already sounds too complicated. I just didn't think that I needed another party game like that, but it seemed kind of interesting. It was from Game Salutes, I believe, so I'm sure you'll be able to find it at retail or at Game Salute's site, as they like to do, very, very soon. And finally, Pack of Heroes, which I actually regret that I didn't back. Pack of Heroes was actually a reboot. It's like looks like a light superhero card game, but superhero in the sense that it had like vintage style art, which that didn't really appeal to me. I think that's what turned me off from it initially. I don't really get the appeal of that kind of art, even in a comical way. But it was a reboot that it kind of failed pretty hard the first time. But when it came back, it set a lower funding goal, and something about the algorithms of Kickstarter and the perception of funding goals really gave a jolt to that project. And it only requested 5,000 and made over 38,000. So congratulations to them. And one thing is that one of the reasons I regret not backing it was because I was unaware that it was from the makers of Sushi Go, which is Adventureland Games. Sushi Go is a fantastic little card game, a little card drafting game. I don't think this game is anything quite like that, but they have a good pedigree so far. So I know one of my other friends, Wes, did back this project, and I am eager to try it out when he gets it. So that's a few games that looked interesting to me that recently funded. Let's take a look at a few games that might be on the horizon. Well, there's really not too much to talk about Kickstarter games that are on the horizon because a lot of companies like to play their cards close to their chest when it comes to upcoming Kickstarter projects because, well, for one thing, it's never a guaranteed bet as to when Kickstarter is going to approve a project, no matter how successful your previous efforts might have been if you're a large company. So there is that. But I do know of a couple notable ones that you should keep an eye out for. The first is Consequential, which, again, if you were paying attention to some of my other videos, you would know that in my top 10 games of Gen Con list, this was my number 1. Consequential looks like a really, really fun cooperative game that uses the Risk Legacy style of a constantly evolving game, this time through expanding weekly downloadable content. It's got a cool fantasy theme, sort of magic meets machinery. I'm really, really eager to see that, and it should be starting its crowdfunding sometime this fall, hopefully next month in September. But I will keep you posted the next time I do an update if I know anything more. The other is the expansion for 12 Realms. Now, 12 Realms was one of the very first Kickstarter projects I ever backed, probably the second or third one, and I have not regretted it at all so far. I don't have it in my hands. It should be on its way to me soon. Hopefully, I'll get to that in a moment. But it just looks like a really awesome cooperative game with uses these sort of fairy tale characters from the past, like Red Robin Hood and like the Three Musketeers, I believe, and they're fighting against some of the evil characters from fairy tale realms. A lot of really cool miniatures and boards and miniatures for the little towns and stuff like that. So it's a project I'm really excited about, and I was really involved with it in the beginning. A lot of feedback from the creator. It's one of the things that really got me hooked on Kickstarter. And hopefully sometime in the late fall, they will be launching this Kickstarter for the expansion for 12 Realms. So obviously I want to get the game in my hands first, because no matter how nice a game looks or how much fun I had with the project as it was happening, doesn't necessarily make for a great game. But as soon as I get 12 Realms in hand, I'm going to post a review of it, probably an unboxing video as well. And then hopefully if I like it, then I will definitely be on the lookout for the 12 Realms expansion. Well, that's it for the games that I'm looking forward to coming to Kickstarter. Let's take a look at games that I've recently gotten into my hands from Kickstarter, and some more that might be on their way soon. Now, two of my most recent reviews were for Crossmaster Arena and for Dungeon Roll. These were two Kickstarter games that were actually not too long ago. Crossmaster was only back in April, I believe, and Dungeon Roll was not too much longer after that. But that's because Crossmaster was a game that was already made. It was made about a year or two ago over in Europe, and Japan Made Games just brought it over to America. But if you watch my review, you know that I liked it quite a bit. Awesome production values, a little too fiddly for my taste, putting together all that terrain, but really great tactical combat, really fun. I like it. I hope I get to play it as much as I do, because it's kind of tough with only 2 players or two-player teams. But I love it. I think it's going to be in my collection for a while. The other game was Dungeon Roll. Now, Dungeon Roll from Tasty Minstrel Games. This was a very small, very cheap Kickstarter project. It was only $15 for the base game. And you got this nice little Kickstarter exclusive box, Kickstarter exclusive pack of heroes, Kickstarter exclusive die and hero, a special hero, the Guildmaster. It was just a dice chucking, push your luck game with some cards, right? So I did a review that was basically saying, yeah, it's okay. It's a decent game. Yeah, sure. If a nice filler game, it'll probably stay on my shelf for a while. I reviewed that game after playing it probably 4 times, I believe, with differing amounts of players. I did it 1 player just by myself. I did it 2 player, 3 player, and 4 player. And then I did my review. And at the time, I just thought it was what it was, and I was pretty honest about it. Now, I played it more afterwards with different sets of people, and tried it with the 3 and 4 player mainly. And my opinion of it downgraded severely. I still think it's an okay game, but there is no depth to it, and there is no player interaction. The number one complaint from everyone involved in those subsequent games was, I guess I just sit here and watch you roll dice for 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how well you do. And it got into this weird thing where we were actually coaching the other players into what best to do with their turns, and honestly too, which is very strange for a competitive game. So that game is going to be leaving my collection very soon. And I don't really regret it. I mean, it was $15 for an interesting experience, but it just wasn't for me. But those are the games that recently found their way to my door from Kickstarter. Coming very soon, and very hopefully, is Story War, which is a card game, storytelling game, where you're using cards to tell an awesome story using little cartoon visuals, and it looks really cool. I regret that I didn't back it enough to get these very awesome exclusive cards featuring some different artists, including the artist from Adventure Time. But I still looking forward to the base game itself. Like I mentioned before, 12 Realms should be on its way to me within the next month, and that just looks incredible. Awesome miniatures, fairy tale story, cooperative, can't wait. Zombicide Season 2, Prison Outbreak, along with a bunch of other little characters and mini expansions that I got as part of the campaign should be on its way very soon. I believe they said they're going to be shipping next week. They're packing them this week, so I am absolutely going to get a review of that up soon. And in fact, stay tuned because hopefully there will be a review of the main game, Zombicide, up soon. I'm working on that currently with my partner. And finally, BattleCon Devastation. Now, I was all ready to talk about how this should be coming to me very, very soon, but I actually just got a notice that was posted that everything in the BattleCon line and all the other little mini games like Strikers and Disc Duelers and Pixel Tactics is all going to be delayed. This is Level 99 Games with Brad Talton. I guess they had some serious problems with the printer not living up to their timeline of when they expected all these things to be available, so everything looks like it's getting pushed back into September. I don't know if that means that Kickstarter backers are also going to be pushed back in September. I assume that means we're at least going to be delayed too. But if you don't know, BattleCon: The War of Indines, which was the original game, is a really fun little two-player back and forth picking fighters like in a fighting game like Street Fighter or whatever, and Guilty Gear, and throwing down cards and special abilities to attack the other player. Very cool, very fun little game. And Devastation was just more and more and more and better of that. So I am still looking forward to it, even if it's delayed. Well, that's your Kickstarter update for today. I hope you found some projects that seemed interesting to you. And if you didn't, then I urge you to go ahead and check out Kickstarter for yourself. If you even got a little bit of an inspiration to go and check it out, because there are tons of projects in the board gaming realm and other types of gaming, video gaming especially, that seem really interesting and might be more up your alley, and you should definitely check it out. Now, if you are a project creator for Kickstarter and you're looking to give your game a little more exposure, then please contact me here at Board Game Brawl. That's boardgamebrawl@gmail.com. There's also all kinds of handy little links to our website and such underneath this video. And I would love to preview or review, if you want, your game. Not asking for much, just send us a prototype and we'll take a look at it, and we'll either just show everyone out there in YouTube land what your game's all about and what might be interesting about it, or we'll do a full-fledged review in which we'll be completely honest about how much we either love or don't love the game. But in any case, even if you just want to contact us and tell us when your game is coming out, what we can expect from your game, what the name of it is, and I'll give a little preview or a shout out during my little updates to let people know what's on the horizon, because I don't know any Kickstarter project that doesn't need a little more exposure, even if they are pretty sure they're going to fund. So that's the Kickstarter update. My name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl. And until next time, I am reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way.